Have you ever wondered why, even when you don't intend to hurt anyone, you sometimes find yourself caught in difficult situations? Often, it's not just external circumstances, but certain personality traits like honesty, straightforwardness, or enthusiasm that can unintentionally attract trouble. These qualities are strengths, but if not managed well, they may lead to misunderstandings or conflicts. Understanding these traits is a vital first step in personal growth. It's about becoming aware, not judging yourself or blaming others. With this awareness, you can learn to respond more thoughtfully, set healthy boundaries, and protect your well-being. This journey isn't about changing who you are, but about managing your natural tendencies wisely. By doing so, you live more peacefully, confidently, and true to yourself. Recognizing these traits helps you avoid unnecessary trouble and stay aligned with your values. 1. Can't keep a secret. There are times in life when we feel the need to connect with someone quickly, perhaps a new friend, a coworker, or someone we admire. In those moments, we may find ourselves sharing personal stories, private details, or even information about others without realizing it. It's not always done with bad intentions. Sometimes it stems from a genuine desire to bond or to show vulnerability. But when this becomes a habit, it can quietly turn into a source of trouble. One common trait many women struggle with, but rarely talk about, is the tendency to speak too openly or share too much, too soon. Whether it's personal information or someone else's story, oversharing can create unintended consequences. In trying to build trust, we may actually do the opposite. When we consistently fail to keep secrets, ours or others' people may begin to see us as someone who talks too much. This perception, even if unfair, can damage how others view us. We risk being seen as careless, attention-seeking, or lacking discretion. More importantly, it can cause people to pull away, reluctant to confide in us again. The loss of trust in friendships or at work is not easy to repair. Oversharing also makes us vulnerable to manipulation. Not everyone we speak to has good intentions. Some may use what we say to their advantage, twisting our words, judging us unfairly, or passing that information further without context. Suddenly, what felt like an innocent conversation becomes the starting point of gossip or conflict. The solution is not to shut down or stop expressing ourselves, but to be more mindful. A useful first step is practicing the habit of listening more than we speak. Before we share, it's helpful to pause and ask, is this person truly trustworthy? And is this really necessary to say? These two questions can help us avoid regret later. It's also wise to learn the art of subtle connection. We don't always need to open up right away to feel close to someone. In fact, meaningful relationships are often built through thoughtful listening rather than rapid disclosure. Holding back in this case isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being self-respecting and emotionally intelligent. Listening more also allows us to understand others better and speak with intention. When we speak less, our words carry more weight. We become someone who others feel safe with, not because we share a lot, but because we choose carefully what to share and when to share it. In short, not being able to keep secrets isn't always a sign of betrayal or bad character. It's often a learned habit shaped by our desire to connect. But with awareness and intention, we can adjust this habit and protect both our relationships and our peace of mind. Being kind to others includes being kind to ourselves. And sometimes that means staying quiet, not because we're hiding something, but because we value trust more than attention. 2. The inability to discern truth from facade. In a world flooded with polished appearances and carefully crafted words, it can be difficult to distinguish sincerity from performance. Many of us, especially those who lead with emotion and empathy, are naturally drawn to stories that touch our hearts or people who speak with charm and conviction. There's nothing wrong with being moved or wanting to believe in goodness. But when this openness becomes unchecked, it can blur our ability to see what's real and what's merely well presented. One of the most common yet overlooked vulnerabilities is the tendency to believe too quickly, whether in a persuasive story, a confident speaker, or a glamorous image. For women who were raised to be kind, polite, and trusting, this trait often feels like a virtue. But in many adult settings, whether in personal relationships, work, or even investments, it can quietly work against us. The cost of not being able to tell the difference between what is genuine and what is superficial can be high. Emotionally, it opens us up to manipulation. We may find ourselves supporting people who drain us, staying in one-sided relationships, or trusting words that were never meant to be followed by action. Financially, it can lead to poor decisions, giving time, energy, or money to causes or people who do not deserve that trust. In professional settings, it may cause us to align with the wrong teams, accept misleading opportunities, or misjudge a colleague's intentions. This doesn't mean we should walk through life with suspicion, constantly doubting everyone. But it does mean we need to sharpen our critical thinking, especially in moments that make us feel too impressed, too moved, or too certain too quickly. When something sounds too perfect, it's worth pausing. Emotions are powerful, but they should not be the sole compass for decision-making. A practical way to begin is by adopting the mindset, trust but verify. Trust allows us to remain open. Verification ensures that openness is grounded in reality. This can look like doing a little more research, asking better questions, or taking time to observe a person's actions beyond their words. It's also helpful to shift our focus from surface-level presentation to deeper values. Instead of being swayed by eloquent speech or appealing appearances, pay attention to how someone treats others when no one is watching, how they handle difficult situations, or how consistent they are over time. Words may charm, but patterns reveal the truth. Another powerful tool is simply taking time. Rushed decisions, especially those made in emotional highs, are often the ones we regret. Give yourself the gift of observation. Let situations unfold. People's true selves are often revealed not in their introductions, but in how they behave when comfort fades or when pressure rises. Learning to see clearly is not about becoming cynical. It's about developing wisdom. It's about honoring your own values and protecting your time, energy, and trust. You can still be warm, generous, and open-hearted just with stronger filters in place. In the end, discernment is a skill, not a trait. It's something we all can grow into. And once we do, we not only avoid unnecessary hurt, but we also create space for more authentic, meaningful connections. 3. The trap of flattery, when compliments cloud our clarity. Flattery can feel like sunshine on a cloudy day. It lifts us, reassures us, and often makes us feel seen in a way we deeply crave, especially when it comes from someone we admire or barely know. As women, many of us have been conditioned to value external affirmation, particularly in societies where our worth has historically been judged by how pleasing or agreeable we appear to others. But while compliments can feel like kindness, not all praise comes from a pure place. Sometimes it's not appreciation, it's strategy. The vulnerability to flattery often hides behind good intentions. We want to believe people mean what they say. We hope others are being genuine. But when we let compliments guide our decisions or sway our opinions too easily, we risk losing our objectivity. This is especially risky in environments where power dynamics are present, be it a workplace, a social circle, or even romantic context. Being too responsive to praise can make us susceptible to manipulation without even realizing it. One of the most damaging consequences is misplaced trust. When we base our judgment of someone solely on how they make us feel, especially with repeated compliments, we may overlook red flags. It becomes easy to mistake charm for character and admiration for connection. The solution isn't to reject all praise or become suspicious of every kind word. Rather, it's to refine our emotional filters, to learn to tell the difference between genuine encouragement and strategic flattery. Authentic compliments often come with context and sincerity. They're not just sugar-coated affirmations. They often include thoughtful observations and, at times, constructive insights. Someone who truly sees your worth will not only praise your strengths, but gently offer feedback when needed. Equally important is the practice of anchoring your self-worth internally. When we rely too heavily on external validation to feel valued, we unknowingly hand over the power to define us. But the truth is, your value does not fluctuate based on who acknowledges it. It's not something that needs constant applause to exist. Building a strong sense of self-one that is rooted in personal values. Self-awareness and quiet confidence helps protect you from the need to chase approval. A useful approach is to pause and reflect every time you receive a compliment that feels too convenient or excessive. Ask yourself, what does this person stand to gain by saying this? And does their behavior align with their words? Compliments, when used manipulatively, often aim to disarm or distract. Remaining aware doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. And if you're someone who finds joy in being praised, don't deny yourself that feeling. Instead, balance it with discernment. Appreciate kind words, but don't let them replace your inner compass. In essence, learning to manage how we receive praise is not about becoming immune to kindness. It's about ensuring that kindness doesn't cloud our judgment. The more we recognize our own value, the less we need the world to echo it. And from that place of quiet strength, we become harder to sway, easier to trust, and more in tune with what's real. 4. The cost of overreacting to injustice. Choosing strategic responses over emotional reactions. There's something deeply human about feeling a fire inside when witnessing something unfair. Especially for women who have worked hard to claim their space, their voice, and their integrity. Injustice doesn't sit quietly, it stirs us, provokes us, and pushes us to speak up. But there's a fine line between courage and impulsiveness, between advocating for fairness and being consumed by it. Many of us carry a strong inner compass, one that immediately alerts us when something feels wrong. It could be in a meeting where credit is misplaced, in a friendship where boundaries are ignored, or in situations where expectations are unfairly imposed. The urge to correct, to confront, to set things right in that very moment is often intense. However, reacting too quickly, especially with emotion front and center, can create more harm than good. One common consequence of reacting impulsively to unfairness is being misjudged. People may label us as difficult, overly sensitive, or unprofessional, regardless of whether our concerns are valid. In emotionally charged environments, it's not always the truth that shapes perception, it's delivery. And sometimes, even when we're right, the way we respond can be used against us. It can cause friction in relationships, disturb our peace at work, or lead to being isolated by others who prefer to avoid confrontation. Moreover, constantly fighting every perceived injustice can become emotionally exhausting. Not every battle is ours to fight. Carrying the weight of every wrong, feeling responsible for every correction, or burning energy on things beyond our control slowly erodes our mental well-being. We risk becoming reactive by default, constantly on edge, and unable to distinguish between what truly matters and what doesn't. That's why learning to pause is a powerful skill. Rather than reacting on impulse, responding with intention allows us to choose our battles wisely. It's not about becoming passive or indifferent, it's about being strategic. When we respond instead of react, we maintain control over our narrative, protect our energy, and make room for long-term impact. One practical way to do this is by taking the time to process emotions privately before taking any action. Writing down our thoughts, venting in a journal, or speaking with a trusted confidant gives us the clarity we need to see the situation with less emotional fog. Often, what feels like an urgent need for justice softens when we view it from a distance. It allows us to think in terms of solutions, not just reactions. Additionally, it helps to ask, is this the right time? Is this the right place? And most importantly, is this the right person to confront? Justice isn't always about immediate action, it's about lasting change. Sometimes the most powerful response is a quiet shift in direction, setting firmer boundaries, or addressing the issue through calm and collected dialogue. Ultimately, learning to deal with injustice doesn't mean silencing ourselves. It means speaking with wisdom. It means knowing that our power doesn't lie in how loudly we react, but in how intentionally we move. And from that space, we protect not only our voice, but also our peace. 5. Impatient, always wanting to solve things right away. In a fast-paced world where efficiency is often mistaken for effectiveness, it's easy to believe that solving a problem quickly is always the best approach. For many women, especially those juggling multiple roles, this belief can become a default mode. We're taught to handle things, to move forward, to just get it done. But in our desire for resolution, we sometimes forget that clarity requires time, and quick decisions aren't always wise ones. There's a unique discomfort that comes with uncertainty. When situations linger without clear direction, it can feel suffocating. Many of us prefer closure, even if that means settling for the first available answer. We confuse discomfort with danger and silence with failure. And in that space of urgency, we often rush not because it's right, but because it feels easier than waiting. This urgency can lead to decisions made on incomplete information. Whether it's committing to a job offer without fully understanding the role, entering a relationship before truly knowing the other person, or signing up for opportunities out of fear of missing out, the outcome is often the same: regret. It's only afterward, when the dust settles, that we realize we didn't take the time to explore alternatives or consider the long-term implications. Even more concerning, impatience makes us vulnerable to manipulation. Those who know how to present quick, appealing solutions can easily influence someone in a hurry. We may find ourselves saying yes to things we don't fully support, simply because the process of saying no or even thinking it through feels too slow. And over time, this habit strips away our power to make thoughtful, independent choices. But perhaps one of the most overlooked consequences of always needing quick answers is missing the opportunity to learn the art of patience. Being able to sit with uncertainty, to observe instead of act, is a skill. It teaches us resilience. It builds emotional intelligence. And it reminds us that wisdom doesn't shout, it waits. That's why adopting a long-term mindset can be a game changer. Not everything that feels urgent is important. Some decisions deserve space. A short pause, a moment of silence, can lead to better outcomes than any impulsive action. One helpful technique is to literally stop and breathe. Take 10 minutes, step away, and write down at least 3 possible choices. This simple act slows the brain's urgency response and allows clarity to emerge. Another valuable principle is fast is slow, slow is smooth. It sounds paradoxical, but it's true. When we slow down, we're more deliberate. When we're deliberate, we make fewer mistakes. And fewer mistakes mean less time spent correcting what we rushed into. In the end, going slow often gets us where we want to be faster and with fewer regrets. Ultimately, choosing to wait isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows their time, energy, and attention are worth protecting. It's the awareness that not every decision has to be made today. And sometimes the most powerful move we can make is the one we choose not to rush. 6. The need to prove ourselves. There is a subtle but persistent desire that many of us carry, a desire to be seen, acknowledged, and validated. We may not always admit it, but deep down, we want others to recognize our efforts, intelligence, and capabilities. For many women navigating adult life, this desire can take the form of constantly needing to prove ourselves. Not necessarily out of arrogance, but often out of a quiet fear. The fear of being overlooked or underestimated. This need often shows up in small, everyday ways. Speaking a little louder in meetings to ensure our points are heard. Highlighting our achievements in conversations, even when not asked. Feeling frustrated when our efforts go unnoticed or when someone else gets credit for work we contributed to. None of these reactions are inherently wrong, they're human. But when they become a pattern, they can begin to isolate us from the very recognition and connection we're seeking. People sense when we're trying too hard to be impressive. And while they might respect our competence, they may also keep an emotional distance. Over time, we might find ourselves misunderstood or even labeled as overly competitive or prideful. This can create unspoken tension in relationships, both personal and professional, and ironically, push away the validation we long for. We're still tying our self-worth too closely to external recognition sets us up for disappointment. If our confidence depends on being noticed, we become vulnerable to the absence of applause. A lack of praise begins to feel like rejection, and we may question our own abilities when others are simply too busy to express admiration. So, how do we break this cycle? It begins with a simple but powerful question. Am I doing this for myself or for the approval of others? Honest reflection can be humbling. Sometimes we realize that our motivation is rooted more in appearance than in authenticity, but that awareness is the first step toward change. Instead of seeking to prove through words, we can let our actions speak for us. Consistency, integrity, and quiet competence are often more powerful than any declaration of success. People remember how we made them feel, how we handled challenges, and how we showed up, not how loudly we listed our strengths. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your value without having to announce it. It doesn't mean being passive or invisible. It means knowing when to speak and when to let silence hold space. It means allowing your results to demonstrate your ability, rather than seeking constant confirmation from others. True self-assurance is built over time in private moments of growth and reflection. It is a kind of strength that does not need to be seen to be real. When we stop trying so hard to prove our worth, we begin to live it. And in doing so, we often earn the respect we once tried so desperately to claim, not because we demanded it, but because we embodied it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.